Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it NBS Television. It's the Morning Breeze, your most authoritative morning current affairs show. And of course, it is the Media Roundtable as we look through the stories making headlines. How has the media covered the presidential campaign trail and also the messages that are coming through and how they're being weaved in the stories being told by the different journalists on the campaign trail, but also the journalists who are reporting the news across the board. Once again, I do still have Joel Mukisa with me, Arias Muchibi, and Richard Baguma to take on this conversation. Maybe I want to start with you, Joel. The coverage of the presidential campaign trail, the messaging in there, and how it is being delivered to the electorate. What is your distinction out of what is being done? What do you make of it?
When you watch what we are watching from the coverage from the media, you get a feeling that there are two problems. Either the media is not interested in covering these people the right way, or it lacks the capacity, which I think actually may be part of the larger problem. Lacking the capacity to cover them the right way, or having the knowledge to challenge the assumptions and the things being parroted by the politicians on the campaign trail. Okay. You look at the assessment of the manifesto, someone reads the manifesto literally and reproduces it verbatim to whoever. NOOP says it will do this. NRM says it will do this. They'll increase 50 million jobs.
NOOP will create 10 million jobs.
So that kind of narrative is what is being parroted today. So I'm asking myself, does the media have the interest? Or does it lack the capacity? Look at a question, how are we even conceptualizing the election? What is the most critical issue in this election? Everything aside, when you conceptualize that this election is mainly about a transition from President Museveni, if you conceptualize the question as a transition from President Museveni to the CDF, which is now no longer spoken about in harsh tones, you then understand that everything else is background noise trying to fill a jigsaw puzzle. You'll then understand why people like Rebecca Kadaga and that generation had to leave the NRM to give entrance to the Right Honorable Anita Among.
Have they left or they were forced out?
Well, the transition has forced them out.
Or they're actually even still part of the party.
Yeah, they are part, but the transition has to give these positions to people of an age group of General Mhozi. And if you conceptualize that way, then you'll know how to cover the election. What is the main question that New Vision is covering? Actually, New Vision is maybe the only newspaper in Uganda that is trying to cover this election from an ideological point of view. But even it does not arrive at good conclusions or does not bring it out as I would have expected. Because New Vision is saying, I'm going to portray the NRM or the state in this light. But then I would expect that you also produce what I want to call the hollowness or the emptiness of the manifesto of NOOP. What groundbreaking stories are we hearing from the New Vision about the emptiness of the NOOP manifesto, its failures, and, for example, how are we covering opposition? Are we covering opposition and President Museveni as equals going for an election? Not just in terms of advantages. Of course, President Museveni has the insurmountable advantages of incumbency, and you can see the problems that has in the Doki 2006 decision. But does the opposition have national structures for it to be? Is the opposition ready for the election?
Good question.
Yes, we should ask that question. Is it ready for that election? Because they're going to come back here in January.
Will be connoted to what?
Structures throughout the country. Can they field candidates throughout the entire country? Can they field candidates throughout the entire country? They cannot. But also, why are we framing this in terms of liberal democracy? We know no one in the media is helping our people to question, is this a viable option? Is this a viable option? Is this the best interested democracy that we have? Because even where democracy has come from, they're now rethinking the idea of democracy or the kind of democracy they're having right now, liberal democracy. Because Mildred, for me as Joel Mukisa, when I see the ballot paper and how well it will appear today, for me it's stinking, the stench. You have to close your eyes and pick one of those candidates because none of them, I think, best represents the future of Uganda or even the ideas that I think are very progressive to our people. Okay. Look at the question for women, for example. Every media house was afloat with a question of, There's no woman.
Yeah, on the ballot.
When has Uganda's ballot had a woman?
We've had women. We've had
No, of course there was Maureen Chalia. But
Nancy, we've had
yes,
Miriam
Nancy Kalembe.
Bote.
That is okay. But did they representatively represent this country, or did they represent women? If you look at that ballot, actually, President Museveni represents women more than any other candidate on that. In terms of his ideas, in terms of what he's doing for women, in terms of practice. So the ballot paper in Uganda has really never had a woman in a hot minute. But because the media now is an extension of an NGO, you start framing questions that way.
No. But that's the reality on the ground.
No, it is the reality.
It's good to ask what happened. Didn't they meet the threshold? Yeah. Because a number of them picked expression of interest.
But reality alone is not enough. That's why you would need a media house that's more ideological. You'd need you see, when I go to read the Wall Street Journal in the US, I understand they will have an inkling or perspective they're more likely to gravitate towards. When you read CNN, you'll know where they're gravitating towards. There is an interest that CNN brings to the debate. If you check a company like Monitor when it was beginning, if you read the Charles Onyango Bo, Andrew Mwenda, and people of that sort, you would know that their critique against Museveni was against him having a guarded opening of the market. They were market fundamentalists. They have come to revise those opinions, but you would understand. And that's why Monitor had groundbreaking journalism and serious journalism, because of the ideological bias of those people. But these are people that were full of Gutus. They had been part of the Changombe group. And things also, but right now, I think many people in the political class despise journalists. Which journalist today can have a conversation with Museveni as equals? Very few. But Wafula Gutu was with him in Changombe. He was a contemporary. So the president will feel comfortable discussing with someone. But either the media today, the person is incapacitated, and that is because people like my editor here, yes, I'm Chibi, I've left the newsroom. I was talking to a journalism don from one of the universities, and told me these days I'm surprised. My student, after graduating 2 years, is now becoming a sub-editor of a national newspaper. Yes, so if you read that Kalinaki article many years ago, it says, the last person should switch off the light. Yeah. So first of all, we don't have capacity. We don't have capacity, and that is going to affect how news gets to our people.
All right, thank you.
If at all news is important.
If at all it is important, and what
in the age of social media.
Yeah, true. You are right. Areas, what do you look at the coverage? Because it's always a good time for us to cast a torch on ourselves as the media. Like I've always said, once a journalist, always one. Whether you're in directly or you're out on the outskirts, you will always remain one. What kind of job have we done? Very good, criticism that comes from Joel on how we've structured the information, on how we've been able to deliver it to the masses, to the audiences. What's your own view?
Well, thank you, Mildred. The campaigns are very boring until now. And usually, the media won't get much. It's difficult now to kickstart it all. I saw, was it Wampamba, reporting and saying so far so good. And I had you comment about it, as if we expected something.
Yeah, it feels like no, probably because of the past. Picking up from the past and what normally happens, not even just November 18th, there is always a lot of tear gas going around during elections and this friction, and it doesn't seem to be happening.
Security surprised me. On nomination day, we expected a lot of fireworks in that rally in Natete. After Mr. Chagulanyi was nominated, and nothing of note happened.
You were disappointed that there was peace and calm?
He was appointed.
I wasn't disappointed, but many people expected something different. So I think security kind of pulled a master stroke there to just take the verve out of it all. And my experience seeing these things, it has nearly always been that when it is very dull, it's very difficult for the opposition candidate to pick themselves up, fire up people, and get moving. If it's very boring, then it even becomes harder to cover as a journalist. Of course, as a journalist, I cannot be as harsh towards journalism as my brother here has been. But the key questions, one thing I wanted to comment about is, you're saying this election is about transition. No, this election is about the next 5 years for Uganda. We don't know what will happen after then. The next 5 years, I think it is very important we look at what is likely to happen.